It'll be 1 to go this time by. Coming to the green, buddy, coming to the green. Let's go get him. Go, 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 go!
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
And we'll now hear from Jorge Madaka with FoxSports.com.
Ryan, good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Being the Daytona 500 champion, does that give you a certain air of confidence as you enter the second crown jewel for NASCAR this season, or is it just another race weekend?
Realistically, it's another race weekend. The two tracks, the cars, everything, totally not similar. But you know, I have confidence as a driver. Our team has confidence in the fact that we won the Daytona 500. You know, and we'd love to win more races this year. And obviously, as I said, I think the Brickyard is second in rank in all the races. You know, the Coca-Cola 600, the Southern 500, those races have a lot of prestige. But Indianapolis, I think, is second.
Mm-hmm. And talking about the championship, do you think that you still have a realistic shot to be in the chase, or is it more of a long shot and, you know, it would take a spectacular run to make it?
I think we have a realistic shot. I'd say it's an outside shot, but you know, we have to improve our performance to get. I mean, we've steadily fallen down from a point standpoint throughout the entire season up to this point, and I mean, we have to turn that around and get it turned around fast. There is not a whole lot of time left, and that's still our goal, is to make it in the chase. And if we make those improvements, then the way the chase works, by the time the end of the year goes, if you do get things turned around, realistically, you can be a championship contender the way the points work. So you just never know at this point. You just have to keep focused and work hard.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we will now hear from David Newton with ESPN.com.
Hey, Ryan. You remember the first time you saw the kissing of the bricks tradition, and where do you rank that as a tradition in NASCAR?
I saw the kissing of the bricks going back to the IndyCar stuff. You know, the milk and the bricks and those that I remember that. I don't remember the first stock car driver I remember seeing kissing the bricks, but I do know that there's something that's super special, and that's something that I dream of and try to want to achieve. But you know, the milk, the wreath, all those things in Indianapolis between Jim Neighbors and the Purdue Marching Band, there's a lot of history at that racetrack. So you know, I definitely look forward to all of it.
Also, you said a few weeks ago that you had three choices outside of Penske Racing. Have you narrowed it down to two or past the three?
No, I still have choices, and I'm getting closer to making that choice and that decision, but I have no answers yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll now hear from Mark Tisla with Denver Post.
Hey, Ryan, can you explain to me why kids from the home state of open wheel racing fell in love with NASCAR?
For me, multiple reasons. The racing itself, just the overall door handle to door handle racing, as my dad and I used to call it, playing with our slot car track. You know, it was just racing, side by side action, sometimes 3-wide, sometimes 4-wide. You didn't see that in any other major series. To me, I still feel the best racing in the world is sprint cars, non-wing, on dirt, short track, 30 laps on a Saturday night. That's the best racing there is in the United States and the world, in my opinion. But from my standpoint, the fans, you know, the sponsorship opportunities from a driver's standpoint, obviously the money's not a bad thing, but just pure racing at the highest level, NASCAR has always been it in my eyes.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
We'll now hear from Brant James with St. Petersburg Times.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Why do you think Penske Racing isn't a week-in, week-out, you know, competitive force in NASCAR like it has been for so long in open-wheel racing?
Well, I would say that we have been, and when we aren't right now. I'm not the only person, I think, that would tell you that. The stats speak for themselves. But going back to 2003, parts of 2002, and parts of 2004, but 2003 in specific, we were a dominant race car. We were a dominant race team. We were a dominant organization from our engine standpoint, from you know, just pure stats, 8 wins, 14 poles. I mean, that's awesome. And we have been dominant. We just aren't dominant right now. And that cycles. Maybe it'll cycle again for Penske Racing, and maybe it'll cycle for a new team. You just never know.
Yeah. What happens? I mean, what makes the cycle go the wrong way for X period of time?
Roger Penske always says, it says right on his website, effort equals results. If you're not getting the results, then you question the effort.
Very good. Thank you.
And we'll now go to Reagan Swan with NASCAR.com.
Ryan, going back to the other question, so is Indiana an open-wheel state or a NASCAR state?
Indiana, I think, is by far an open-wheel state. Not just Indy cars or Gasoline Alley. I think more so the USAC sprint cars and midgets, the open-wheel cars from USAC, I think, kind of dictate based on the short tracks, Winchester, Salem, places like that, Terre Haute. Those are all. Well, don't get me wrong; they run late models there too, but they're places that I think are known for their dirt sprint car racing and pavement sprint car racing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll now hear from Claire Lang with XM Satellite Radio.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks for joining us today. The question for you is about how you possibly narrow down your choices right now. There's talk about sponsors being in and out of Tony Stewart's second ride, or you're wanting to win a championship. You're kind of negotiating this yourself. What are you doing? Holding meetings? How difficult is it, and how do you narrow this all down?
Well, you have to rely on yourself, most importantly, but obviously the people and friends around you, whether it's my wife, who always tells me what to do and why I should do it, or my father, my friends, people like Don Miller, who have seen my racing career from a NASCAR level, who are unbiased because he's no longer involved in ownership or any part of the sport. So there are people that I go to and talk to about it. Obviously, meetings are important, talking to people, figuring out what's the best opportunity from a performance standpoint, from a financial standpoint. That doesn't matter so much to me, but it does. It takes time, it takes effort, it does take away from what I do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's spend time with the guys here at the shop, going out to lunch with Roy, or it takes away, but it's part of my career. It's part of my career I have to be faithful and honest to, so I have to take time to do it.
And do you have a deadline for yourself? Is it getting close to the end of the season? Right now, everybody's pressing you for an answer, but knowing you'll take your time. What does the timeline look like?
That's a good question. I've asked myself that. I've asked other people that, and it's kind of like maybe it's like being in high school and having a bunch of girls, and if you get an opportunity to date one or the other, and you don't know the timeline of how everything is going to go, you don't know when you're going to get a date. It's like it just happens. You just maybe on a Friday night you go out, and I think that's kind of how it's going to work out for me. It's just going to take some time for things to mesh, and from a people standpoint, it's just like chemistry. It just happens.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan. Good luck.
Thanks, Claire.
We'll now hear from Dustin Long with Landmark Newspapers.
Yeah, Ryan, a couple questions. One, just to kind of follow up on that, is just what more have you learned about this whole process in the sense of going now to switch teams, something you haven't had to do in your career with all the other things you have to worry about? How much has that opened your eyes, or I guess how has that impacted you and seeing what goes involved in all that?
Honestly, I never really realized why they called it silly season. It's just that was what they called it, and after dealing through all the dealings, it in a roundabout way, it is kind of silly. I mean, it's just the way you have to deal with, let's just say, the politics of the situations and try to sort things out. Obviously, like I said, it takes away from your main goal of driving and focusing, and I can still get in the car and focus, but it takes away from the extracurricular things that make a difference in performance. So, it's in a roundabout way, it's just kind of silly. It takes a lot more effort than I ever thought it would, and I've had option years, not necessarily option years. I've had a point where my contract needs to be renewed, and it gets renewed, and we just worked forward after that. But this year, the situations just seem to be a little bit different, and it's working out differently.